All right, good morning, everybody. Oh, bring the microphone over here so maybe y'all can hear me. Hey, good morning. Whew. And, yeah, okay, I'm up. I almost didn't make it up this morning. I even considered just skipping the show this morning, y'all. When I woke up, that whoopee was just a little too warm. I almost just stayed put. Anywho, so how we doing this morning, everybody? Good to see you. Good to see you. I see Granddad's in there. I see a Steve. Biscuits and gravy. You know, that sounds like a hell of a good idea. And there's Bubbles and Jamie and Megan. I got the Will Bankses both in here. I appreciate you, Sugar. Thanks for tuning in this morning, guys. Good to see you. Okay. I may not do a full half hour this morning. Oh, look at that. This might be a good one. I've already got a troll in here. Well, not a troll. I've already got a bot in here. Want to become famous? Buy followers. Perhaps. Yeah, screw you. Block. All right, TwitchBot's fired. But good morning to you, TwitchBot. Good morning. Now, go away. So, we talked about it a little bit earlier this week that the eviction moratorium was coming to an end. There was a moratorium on evictions and there was a moratorium on foreclosures. The idea being that because the economy was in the hole, and our economy did not suddenly falter and fail and shrivel up because there was a disease, because there was a pandemic. It shriveled up because the response to the pandemic was an absolute shitstorm. It was a gross failure from the word go. All right, let's not forget, before the pandemic was even a wet market dream, we already had a problem where Obama and Biden had depleted our pandemic response supply stores in the last pandemic, in the swine flu problem, and hadn't solved it, hadn't replenished the stockpile that they should have replenished. Now, in fairness, that is the kind of thing that the Trump administration, one would expect effective management should have noticed. You know, maybe one of the things that needs to be done to avoid a similar failure in the future is a law should be passed. And guys, you know, I'm not a big fan of laws. I'm a big fan of the rule of law, but the rule of law should be done with the minimum possible number of laws to begin with. But something on the order of a mandate for the administration to conduct an annual national inventory. You know, one would think that were already required, right? Jamie says, no FEMA, you stored everything in the issue it out. I think your thought pattern was intelligible, Jamie, but I'm not sure about that sentence. But yeah, FEMA, you know, didn't issue it out. No, part of the problem, Jamie, was that the stores were depleted and had not been replenished. And Steve said, Jamie didn't pay his syntax. Anywho, hey, Georgia Constitution Media's here. Real quick, GCM, I watched your live yesterday when that knucklehead cop came and gave you a ticket for parking on the side of the road, and it was painfully obvious that he wrote you a ticket for that because he was utterly powerless to do anything else. But brother, when you're ready to go to court on that one, talk to the lawyer and remind him, hey, curtilage does not trump the easement for the question of public access. Okay? Parked on the side of the road between the edge of the paved, obvious public road and the nearest active public utility is part of the easement. That is not curtilage. So that cop was as wrong as he could be. He's I wouldn't say he went so far as some of them do, where he should absolutely be fired for what he did, but the ticket should be thrown out and he should be reprimanded. He did his job wrong, but he wasn't a total ass about it. He's an inadequate cop, not a bad cop. So that said, let's get back to the moratorium stuff. Y'all, real estate prices are about to get interesting. I don't know which way they're going to go, but they're about to shift dramatically in one direction or the other. Like, we're about to either see a sudden explosion in price where all the real estate just flies through the roof because people are just afraid to deal with it, and so the demand doesn't match the supply, or because of the rate of the accelerated rate of foreclosure, not evictions, guys, foreclosures. Okay, so what we're going to see happen, part of what we're going to see happen, is as the moratoriums end, people who have just not paid their rent for over a year, and I'm going to touch on that separately in just a second. People who haven't paid their rent for a year are going to find themselves evicted. But part of that is going to include landlords who haven't been paid rent and been unable, therefore, to satisfy the mortgages on the properties that they own and have renters in. They will also find themselves in a pickle. And so you'll see people getting thrown out by the sheriff for not paying the rent, and then the same sheriff coming around and hanging the notice to advertise the land for foreclosure because the landlord hadn't been getting the rent to pay to pay for the property. It's hard to tell right now which one of those is going to outstrip the other more rapidly. The sudden spate of evictions will mean that there is a sudden high demand for new rental agreements. People will be looking for somewhere to live once they've been evicted. The competition there is going to be interesting because I suspect what we're going to find is that while these people have had literally trillions of dollars, and I mean us too, but some of us kept working and making money and paying our rent. In fact, I just sent a check off yesterday to pay for this place. Yesterday, day before, something like that. It's early. But some of us kept working and paying the bills, right? But for a lot of Americans, they got $1 trillion or trillions of dollars plowed into their pockets collectively and sat on their asses soaking up not only relief funds but excessive, ridiculous unemployment payments, and then decided not to pay their rent during that period because they couldn't, because the law basically said they shouldn't. And now I find it, I wouldn't hold out hope that the large majority of those people were just sitting on that money or wisely investing it, right? Now, a handful of them made themselves millionaires playing around with the doggy coin and the GameStop fiasco earlier this year. But guys, that's not most of them. it's not like the majority of shitbags were also tech savvy enough or meme lord savvy enough to pile into the game stonks and make a killing there. So you have that problem, but so that's going to have some kind of, if it is going to either have a dramatic positive or negative effect on the supply side of the housing market. And it's difficult to tell which. But I think it's reasonable to expect that. Okay, Sergeant Major says, foreclosure will not spike unless the economy tanks. Recent buyers qualified for the mortgage properly, plus inflation is here. Sort of. There's another problem here, Dad, that we're seeing in Rockdale County, with the it was one of the okay. Sorry, let me step back. Okay, there's another problem here. It was a major issue in the recent probate court, the recent probate judge election here in Rockdale County, and I've been reading some reports that similar activities are going on around the country, and we have this problem where liberal, anti-gun liberals have been working to get their hands on that probate court judge slot so that they can artificially enforce non-existent gun laws, basically by rather illegally refusing to process license applications for carry or concealed carry gun licenses in various states, right? In Georgia, in Rockdale County especially, we're having that problem with the judge who, unfortunately, the incumbent won that election, so we still have that same activist shitburger. Steve Justin did not win the seat, unfortunately. So the result has been, we've got these judges who are intentionally dragging their feet to make it hard for people to get their gun licenses. Well, these same probate justices, for the same reasons and in the same, or rather as a result of the same bad habits, are under processing basically everything that happens in the probate court. And here in Conyers and Rockdale County, I've talked to several real estate agents who have been complaining a lot that they're not being able to get their real estate deals done. Like, not it's taking forever to get it done, but it's taking so long to get things done in this court that initial filings expire and then have to be redone, and then something goes wrong and the deal falls through because of the delay or contract requirements. And that's something that's happening a lot. Incompetent government is going to be a major factor there. So as far as there's a lot to chew on there, and I'm probably going to end up having to do a little bit more of a deep dive. Rod, I might have to break out that Pendars again. I haven't talked to old Mr. Pendar in about 15 years. But that would be the comprehensive book of Georgia law regarding real estate, where you learn how to be a deed dog. If you want to get you a job that keeps you in the basement staring at books and doesn't involve reasonable sleeping hours, then yeah, go read you some George Pendars and let a few lawyers hire you on the side. Yeah, I'm glad I don't do that shit anymore. So let's get around to what's going on with the president. That's the wrong screen. Whoops. Sorry, guys. I don't. I suddenly have the wrong backdrop sharing, so let me just see if I can fix that crap real quick. Normally, this is where I would tell Cameron to run his mouth for a minute so that I can get this fixed. But it should be pretty quick and easy. There it is. Okay. Live is hard mode. You're correct, Steve. Here, I'll give you one of these. That's for being a good and understanding friend, my brother. So, after Biden proposes CDC issues new 60-day eviction moratorium, a new 60-day eviction moratorium. If y'all haven't listened to the press conference from Biden on this, before we read this article, so Biden gave a press conference on this, and he was pretty clear about a couple of things. One, the Supreme Court said no, you cannot extend the eviction moratorium. And so Biden and the CDC, excuse me, so Biden and the CDC said, fine, we won't extend it. We'll make a new one, because that's not the same thing. I have met oaks in excess of 300 years of life on this glorious earth that were not as shady as this fucking president. So they decided, CDC issues new 60-day eviction moratorium. After Biden proposes it. The other thing that Biden admitted openly, just flat said it, this action will not meet constitutional muster. He said it. Just came right out and said the quiet part out loud. Look, I understand that it is illegal for the president and the CDC to do this thing. Yes, and it was illegal for you to do the thing to begin with. It was illegal for the CDC, right? It was illegal for the CDC to issue the eviction moratorium to begin with. This goes back to something that we've talked about on the show before. As long as we pay property taxes, as long as property owners, land owners, pay a tax on the land they own, we are not free. Now, don't get me wrong. We have a much more believable facade of liberty and freedom in this country than in any other country on the planet. But if I have to pay rent on land that I own free and clear, because that's what property tax is. Property tax is quite simply rent that you pay for land that you otherwise would own. Okay? There are two ultimate test sticks for liberty. The ultimate freedom is to be able to question the extent of your freedom. And part of questioning the extent of your freedom is ask yourself this. If you build yourself a cabin on a chunk of land and you raise your own crops and livestock, you're 100% self-sufficient. Right? You go work, earn money, and buy the land. You own it free and clear. You own the home built on it free and clear. You live on the land. You drink well water, or you've got a river running through it, because a river should run through it. Even if I'm still dedicated to chock full of nuts instead of Hills Brothers, there's your movie reference for today. But you got your piece of land, you live on it, you farm it, you raise all the food you need, you've got access to the water you need through natural resources that are part of the land that you own, etc., etc., and you still have to pay taxes, you're not free. If I cannot choose to be left the fuck alone, 100% free and clear, absolutely unmolested by the violence of the state, then freedom is an illusion at best. Steve says, there's a reason your deed says occupant and not owner. And that's a fair point. Now, there are places in this country where you can own land without paying taxes. Not many, though, because most of the places where you should be able to own land without paying taxes based on jurisdictional prudence, it's national park, or it's federal land, and that's just disgusting. Guys, I would not shed a single tear if we were to dissolve the current federal government. I wouldn't slow me down for a second. So, and in fairness, if anybody's noticed, yes, I woke up too late, and I have done next to zero show prep this morning. But I've still managed to run my mouth for nearly half an hour on a topic off the top of my head. So I think I'm doing okay this morning. And tomorrow's Firearms Friday, so nice easy day tomorrow. It's been a busy and interesting week over here. So, under heavy pressure from progressive Democrats to extend an eviction moratorium as millions of Americans faced, it says in the past tense, being forced out of their homes, President Joe Biden on Tuesday said his administration would announce a new safety valve action. Yeah, Steve, be careful, son. You don't want to give any of those old ladies around the home the vapors. Shortly after the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention issued an order barring evictions for 60 days in counties with substantial and high levels of community transmission. Okay. Here's where I'm going to end it. And on this subject, it might just take me a minute to end it. So what's happening here? What has just occurred by virtue of the CDC issuing an eviction moratorium? If the CDC can issue an eviction moratorium and that go unchallenged by the courts, then what has been decreed by an absolutely unconstitutional fiat of the administration is that all government agencies, regardless of branch affiliation, have the same legal authority as the legislature itself. To say that the CDC can decree that landowners cannot protect the interest of their private property against the ravages of irresponsible parasitic tenants is to say that, for example, the ATF could just issue a decree that says guns are not legal. The Department of Health and Human Services could come out and say, well, no, it's worse than that. I was about to use the example the Department of Health and Human Services could come out and ban salt or sugar. But those two examples, the ATF example and the Department of Health and Human Services examples that I just used, they're too reasonable. Those two examples are way too reasonable to even illustrate the significance of this point, the ludicrousy of this point. The CDC issuing law, making law regarding real estate that's more akin to the ATF deciding to tell you all that sugar is illegal. Right? This is the Department of Health and Human Services issuing new regulations on what is permissible to be included in your 501c3 application as a new political organization. This is the IRS deciding what chemical makeup of paint is tolerable for the coating on your children's toys. This is HUD. This is HUD telling pajama manufacturers which fire retardant materials they have to use for children's PJs. This is insane. This isn't just illegal. This is insane. Okay? And the conclusion that must be drawn here is that absolutely without exception, every currently elected Republican that is not fully engaged in the active impeachment of Joseph Robinette Biden is ineligible for your reasonable good faith vote. Not a damn one of them. After their cowardice through the last year, and especially since the I want to say inauguration, but Joe Biden didn't have an inauguration. And this is not a commentary on the legitimacy of the election. This is a commentary on the occupation of the Capitol. After Joe Biden and his military coup occupying the Capitol on Inauguration Day, with troops in the streets and flipping concertina wire around our nation's capital. Guys, if it looks like a coup and it walks like a coup, I have to stop because that joke was about to get the kind of dark that might actually... It was a good joke, but I have to stop right there. Oh... When Joe Biden used the U.S. Army, the National Guard, to conduct a coup instead of have an inauguration, it is now clear that he has, in effect, abolished the Constitution and the rule of law, and is ruling as an absolute dictator. If the CDC can just legislate without interference from the courts, then the president can order the execution of American citizens without cause by executive order. This is not a statement of hyperbole or exemption. We know this to be true because Barack Obama executed citizens without cause by executive order. And I want you to listen very carefully to that sentence as I say it again. There's an important thing there that you should pay attention to. Barack Obama executed U.S. citizens without cause by executive order. Now, in fairness to Obama, some of the U.S. citizens that he killed by executive order were killed with at least some reason. There were some terrorists involved there, but U.S. citizens are protected by the Constitution and guaranteed the right to a trial by a jury of their peers. So if old boy goes down when you go to arrest him and he tries to return fire and just doesn't win that gunfight, that's fine. In a case like that, he surrendered his rights. But when what you do is you wait for him to go to the tea shop and you hit him with a drone, that is a very different creature altogether. That is how we treat non-U.S. persons who are active enemy combatants. And really, you only do it with people that fit that description when they're elusive and hard to catch and important to catch. That's a whole nother topic to go down that I will leave off for another time. With that, I do have some other engagements this morning. And God, going into this evening, it's going to be one of them days. Y'all be safe out there. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, and I'll see you tomorrow.